pusher tonight. Because, truth be told, I make most of my money doing corporate shows. And contrary to popular belief, corporate shows can actually be fun if the company's small enough to not have an HR department. But if they do, what happens is you get an email before every show, and every email's like, they're like, hey, so excited for comedy night, CCing our lawyers. Just to make sure we don't offend anyone, can you not joke about sex, drugs, religion, politics, or race? And I'm like, fine, I'll just juggle. But even then, in today's sensitive world, even if I were to juggle, I'd be accused of sexism and ableism and racism because I'm juggling balls with my arms in blackface. Everyone has their own little thing. And it's hard to take into account. And listen, I've done these gigs, I've tried to follow the rules, and that's why there's a part of me that doesn't want to judge all the comedians that have agreed to do the Riyadh Comedy Festival in Saudi Arabia. But so for those of you who aren't aware, there's this. It's funded by the monarchy in Saudi Arabia. It started this past Friday, and a lot of comedians are on the lineup. A lot of rich comedians. I truly think it's one of the worst things Louis C.K. has ever done. They're one of the comedians who said no to it actually published some of the content restrictions. It says, artists shall not prepare or perform any material that may be considered to degrade, defame, or bring into public disrepute, contempt, scandal, embarrassment, or ridicule. A, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, including its leadership, public figures, culture, or people. B, the Saudi royal family, legal system, or government. And C, any religion, religious tradition, religious figure, or religious practice. So they're fine with blackface, essentially. and there's all these comedians that have agreed to do it, and I don't know. Maybe some of them think they're going to go there and they're gonna say something and push the system, shake it up. I don't think so. I think it can be scary. I've gone to different countries with different rules, and I always get nervous because I know if I ever get imprisoned in another country, Trump is not bailing me out. And I know my girlfriend, she's very smart. I'm sure she'd figure out a way to get a phone call in jail, and she'd be like, we figured out a way, we made a trade, but you have to go on TV and wear the hat. I'd be like, no honey, I'm never wearing the hat. Then I'd spend one more day in prison, and next day you'd see me on TV with the hat like, we need to make America funny again. So I'm not doing this festival, but there's a lot of comedians there. And I do wonder if they're going to go there and maybe they're going to go against these rules. Maybe they're going to say something really controversial. I mean, if you're a comedian and you're going to go to Saudi Arabia and not say a joke that insults the powers that be, what was even the point of having Trump on your podcast? Pete Davidson is doing the festival, which, I'm sure, listen, to be fair, I'd probably do it if they had killed my dad. Just to return the favor. I think Chappelle's performing there tonight. I think it would be funny if he got in trouble because he wouldn't stop talking about trans people. Listen, there's a part of me that hopes one of these comedians, I honestly, I hope the one who gets in trouble is Gabriel Iglesias. They'll be like, you can't behead me, my neck's too fluffy. Hey, I think in their defense, some of them say, they go, well, you think America's so innocent? And it's like, yeah, but it's not like the government paid me to perform in Buffalo. I think I'd be just as critical if the Trump inauguration hired Mr. Bean to perform. But again, I don't want to be so judgy because I've done gigs that I've regretted. One of my first corporate gigs when I was very new in comedy, I got hired to do. I mean, again, I didn't even look into it. It was an electricians union in California. And my mom, she brought me because I wanted her to see that I had a real job and I don't know how to drive. And as we were going there, I said, okay, I was getting paid $4,500, which was a ton of money. The most I've been paid for comedy up to this point was 2 drink tickets. And I'm like, okay, let me do my research about this company, this electricians union. I was like, maybe I'll come up with some jokes for the event. Like, oh my gosh, when you guys booked me, I was shocked. I was still newer at comedy at the time. And I looked up a newsletter. That's what I found online. This union had a newsletter. And these were some of the headlines from the newsletter that I was reading on the way to the gig. It said, COVID, climate change, and other lies Democrats want you to believe. Traveling abroad has been ruined by wokeness. Our 10 least favorite Jews. And I said, oh no! My mom and I are about to be 11 and 12. No, it looked bad. It was nervous, and in my head I was like, oh no, what am I gonna do? Am I bad to do this? But again, I was like, $4,500. I get to the event. Sure enough, I know I'm in the wrong place because it is 800 old white men dressed like cowboys, not a single horse in sight. The booker came over, gave me the check in advance. And then I knew the big sign I was in trouble is the show started with a singing of the national anthem. And then after the national anthem, they went into an auction of guns. 100% guns, top to bottom. And I mean like guns designed for big classmates. And at the end, they sold a Glock 19 for $20,000, and that was offensive because that was more than they were paying me. And in my mind, I mean, I had my mom there as like my moral compass, which is not great. And I was like, should I leave? Should I say something? She was like, no, they're paying you. Shut the fuck up. And I said, you're right, Mom. Thank you. And they got to the comedy portion, and I'm in the back, and I'm like, I feel really guilty for doing this. I'm definitely not going to get any crowdwork clips to post. and in my mind, I'm like, should I say something? Should I? And then, right before they brought me on stage, the host said, hey guys, are we all excited for the comedy portion of tonight? Just so you know, we brought a comedian all the way from New York City, thanks to a generous donation by our sponsor, ExxonMobil. And he pointed. They had on the back, they had a banner that said ExxonMobil. And that's when I was like, what would George Carlin do? What would Richard Pryor do? But I didn't have any cocaine, so I went in the back, I pulled out the check, I cashed it, and then I walked on stage. And I had to do 25 minutes, so at first I just did my set. It was supposed to be clean, I had my own rules, I was not allowed to make fun of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and I followed it. I followed all the rules, and then I got to this last part. I was telling a joke at the time about, it was called Titanic 2. There was a billionaire, and he was basically rebuilding the Titanic. So I had a joke about being a stand-up comedian on the Titanic. But in the middle, I was describing it, and then I said, they're building this Titanic 2, and it's going to go along the same route as the original, because the icebergs got a lot smaller thanks to my sponsor, ExxonMobil. Thank you. They did not applaud. At first, I thought I got a laugh, but then the laugh became like a ooh, and then like a baby discovering the consonant B. Someone went boo, and then everyone started, and not in a fun boo, not like the Apollo, like a scary, like I was looking on my body for red dots appearing boo. And so I'm just sitting. I've never been booed by a whole audience. I'm just sitting as these 800 former Confederate soldiers are wailing at me. I don't know where to go. They're all here. And then my mom kicked open the emergency exit with the Glock 19, like, "Let's go, motherfucker!"
agent, they would not be booking me the following.
So again, I've done immoral things for money, but the difference between that corporate gig and the Riyadh Comedy Festival is the Riyadh Comedy Festival did not book me to perform.